Chainsaw Man Chapter 99 is out and we have some things to discuss, a lot of things to discuss. This chapter fundamentally alters our own perceptions of what a fiend is and how they operate, changing everything we thought we knew about power, Aki, violence and so on right down to who they were and who they ended up being. In the first pages of the chapter, we get confirmed that not only is War inhabiting Mitaka's body but they are sharing it, because War preserved a portion of Mitaka's brain during the time they took over. The fact that Mitaka looks exactly like her ordinary self, while the mental projection of War resembles the form we saw at the end of the previous chapter, helps to distinguish them from one another on a visual level, but more than that it also helps to sell the idea that they have completely differing personalities, with War being more rugged and serious looking while Mitaka is more soft and easy to blend in with the background, like a regular person. What immediately stuck out was the fact that War, a devil which embodies the idea of conflict, preserved a portion of Mitaka's brain, perhaps not out of kindness but because it would create a conflict within them, something that War is perhaps unconsciously biased towards. Of course Mitaka doesn't take the revelation very well, and starts pinching herself to try and wake up, and we find out War can be quite the deadpan and snarky, even while threatening to kill their new host body. Another interesting fact is that at least this illusion of War created by Mitaka's own psyche is capable of point at things that Mitaka herself isn't focused on, perhaps granting a sort of dual sense of sensory perception. As while Mitaka focuses on one thing, War can focus on another that is within their line of sight. And War is of course pointing at the television, displaying the news that both her teacher and class president were found dead, and with War telling her that Mitaka killed them, and a tiny flashback Mitaka reacts expectantly negative, blaming War and attempting to shove them, only to find out that they aren't actually there and instead they are a mental projection, or as they put it, a hallucination. While obviously scared, Mitaka questions the nature of War. War bluntly tells her that she died yesterday and that they are the War devil who claimed her body. Mitaka, urged on by War, starts her journey to school, where we get the explanation that War preserved part of Mitaka's brain, claiming it to be because they don't understand human society and that with her around she can more easily slip into her school, obviously bringing up the question that we all already should know the answer to, that being why War is so interested in going to her school, which is the fact Chainsaw Man, or rather Denji, is going there. The way War figured this out is honestly interesting. A devil previously killed by Chainsaw Man was found clutching a button that belonged to one of Denji's school uniform. Quite what is so special about this button that War could figure out the exact school uniform it belongs to, I don't know. Perhaps it has a unique color or an engraving not shown in its current form. Either way, War is certain that Denji is going to the school incognito, and as Mitaka arrives at the school gates she starts to have second thoughts. Perhaps these thoughts are brought on by her lingering feelings of rejection from her classmates after Bucky's death. Maybe it's because of her indirect responsibility for her teacher and classmates' death, or maybe it's just out of fear of being anywhere a devil like Chainsaw Man could be hiding out. War doesn't take too kindly to this and threatens to remove what remains of Mitaka's brain, so this time she'll really die. Mitaka has a flashback to when people stared at her, perhaps feeling isolated from them or being too nervous to actually look at or reach out to any of them. Mitaka seems to be in the midst of having a sort of breakdown as War continues to egg her on to go into school, eventually culminating in Mitaka deciding she'd rather die than go in there. It's uncertain what War would have actually done as someone shows up at that very moment. But the fact that War was willing to listen and even allow a modicum of disobedience really highlights their difference from Makima, who was the previous arc's antagonist. As for who shows up, wouldn't you know it, our boy Yoshida, who we haven't seen for ages, turns up to ask Mitaka if she's alright, offering to walk her to the nurse's office. Mitaka obviously panics and attempts to say no, while War demands, rather bluntly, to ask if he knows Chainsaw Man's secret identity, with Mitaka telling War to shut up, much to Yoshida's confusion, and of course Mitaka can't exactly explain what is going on, Thankfully, however, that doesn't seem to be required as War, or the illusion of War merges back into Mitaka and takes complete control of the body, even materializing what might be their signature scar on their cheek and those eyes. The eyes, which resemble Makima's yet also due to the styling of the chapter produce an entirely different emotion. Yoshida of course notices the scars, and we get to see Mitaka now taking on the place War was previously in, a disembodied spirit of sorts watching, once again highlighting that despite being a mental projection it can see things from an angle the main body isn't able to. Of course Yoshida plays off the idea of Chainsaw Man, or rather Denji is at the school, saying he only just transferred, but according to what he heard Chainsaw Man might be part of the Devil Hunter Club or something. Then War does something most unexpected. She asks Yoshida out, or rather flat out asks him to be her boyfriend. Yoshida thankfully declines the offers, and we learn here while Mitaka is panicking that War's ability to turn things into weapons only works on that which is hers, so if he had accepted he could have become her weapon. And so War's goal is revealed in full. Mitaka wants to turn as many humans into weapons as possible to use them in a battle against Chainsaw Man. Honestly, the similarities between Mitaka's ability to turn beings into weapons and Makima's abilities to control others really have a similar limit, yet is distinctly different. Makima could only control those she deemed inferior, while War can only turn those she deems as hers into weapons. What that means exactly is unclear. Does she mean to turn people into simple swords and bombs, or does she mean to have them become autonomous weapons of destruction? If it's the latter, those similarities to Makima become even more obvious and might lead to conflict with Nayuta, who is the controlled devil and is under Denji's care. But anyway, Mitaka starts to realize just how deep she has gotten herself, going through the mental realization of what has happened and deciding she has to talk to a devil hunter, of course sharing a body and perhaps a brain now. War heard all of that and quite bluntly tells her, in what I imagine to be the most deadpan snark voice possible, that if she tries to spill the beans about her, then Mitaka will die. War is even kind enough to tell Mitaka just how pointless it is to try and hide her thoughts from War, since they are technically the same person now. And that's when War makes an offer, or rather a declaration, that they will return the body to Mitaka if they beat Chainsaw Man. I am uncertain if such a thing was possible. For Denji being a hybrid, it might be possible to remove Pochita, but a fiend like what Mitaka seems to be is quite different. The only thing keeping her alive in a sense should be War. Hell, this might just be another way for War to say that Mitaka will die once they are done. Of course Mitaka doesn't think that, so she just accepts and goes along with War's plan. That's when we get introduced to the Devil Hunter Club, where they have made a silly sort of hazing process, whereby 3 club prospects work together to kill a devil and bring back its body within a week, otherwise they will not be permitted to enter the club. The teams are random, and of course Mitaka ends up in the same team as Yoshida and another young women, who I don't believe we have seen before, but I might be mistaken on that front. Honestly, this chapter is perhaps more exciting for me than even the previous one, in terms of content, because it simply gives me so much to chew into and digest. The idea that fiends aren't completely one side takes control, the fact that War and Makima have so much in common while also being complete opposite in terms of ideology. Honestly, at this point I'm inclined to believe that the other 2 horsemen, whoever they might be, also will have a vested interest in Chainsaw Man, simple because he is an anomaly. Obviously the return of Yoshida is a huge plus in my book. After all, he is the surviving best boy. After all, Kishibe is best sensei and Denji is best protagonist, and the others are all just dead, so of course seeing Yoshida is hype. He obviously noticed something was off about Mitaka, and I doubt he was just sent to that school for no reason. He might actually be there directly in response to War's presence, or because he is now acting as Denji's buddy, if Denji is even still operating within the confines of the Devil Hunter organization. Again, not seeing Denji is really starting to make me question what's going on. How has our boy changed since we last saw him? I feel like he might be revealed to us in some climatic or funny war in the next chapter, perhaps when Mitaka, Yoshida and their other partner come across a devil, and before War can reveal themselves, Denji arrives and finishes off the devil. And because War isn't yet strong enough to do anything about it, doesn't engage, or maybe something else. Also I'm wondering when we will see Kobani. I doubt she's going to get out of this part of the series without more shame and humiliation. Overall, this chapter did some really good work on defining a portion of who this main female lead is for part 2, doing some heavy lifting on defining and refining their psychology and perhaps showing that there is more to war than just a bloodthirsty brute. But I've been the Anonymous Weeb. I wish you a good day or night wherever you are and hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment down below with your own thoughts and options.